Some gardens seem to fight the same battle every year. The leaves get damaged. The pests arrive. The spraying begins. And somehow, the problem keeps coming back. Then there are other gardens. Same neighborhood, same weather, same growing season. Yet they barely seem to struggle. The plants stay healthy. The damage stays minimal. And the gardener hardly appears worried. Why? What are they doing differently? Most people assume they found the perfect spray, the perfect pest control method. But what if the real difference isn't what they added, but what they stopped removing? Because some of the healthiest gardens aren't protected by fewer insects. They're protected by more. Most gardeners only notice insects when something goes wrong. A leaf gets eaten. A plant starts weakening. Suddenly, every bug becomes the enemy. And the natural reaction is understandable. You want to stop the damage before it spreads. So people spray. Remove insects. Clean everything up. Try to eliminate the problem as quickly as possible. But here's the strange part. Pest outbreaks often happen when something important is already missing. Because a garden with no insects is not necessarily protected. It may actually be defenseless. That sounds backwards. But nature rarely works the way we expect. Walk through a healthy garden on a warm summer morning. At first, it may seem peaceful, but look closer. A spider waits quietly between leaves. A bird lands nearby searching for food. Tiny hoverflies move between flowers. A ground beetle disappears beneath the mulch. Lady beetles patrol stems and leaves. Most people never notice them. Yet these small creatures may be doing some of the most important work in the entire garden. And that's the secret. The healthiest gardens often have an entire invisible workforce operating before the gardener even realizes it's needed. Take hoverflies, for example. Many gardeners notice the adults visiting flowers and assume they're simply pollinators. But their larvae are voracious predators. A single hoverfly larva can consume large numbers of aphids while remaining almost invisible among the leaves. That's what makes healthy gardens so fascinating. The helpers are often present long before the problem becomes obvious. And here's the discovery that changes how you see pest problems forever. The insects people barely notice may be the reason pests never become a disaster. But here's something even more surprising. One of the most valuable pest hunters in the garden is often mistaken for a pest itself, the hoverfly. At first glance, many people assume it's some kind of small bee or wasp. It hovers. It darts through the air. It looks suspicious. Yet hoverflies don't sting, and their larvae are voracious predators. A single hoverfly larva can consume large numbers of aphids during its development. The adult spends its time visiting flowers. The young spend their time hunting. Most gardeners never realize they're looking at one of their greatest allies. And once you know what a hoverfly looks like, you start seeing them everywhere. At some point, every gardener faces the same question. Why do pest populations explode in one garden while staying relatively controlled in another? The answer often has less to do with the pests and more to do with the predators. Because predators need something too. They need food. They need shelter. They need places to hide. And this is where many gardens accidentally push them away. A perfectly tidy garden may look impressive, but sometimes it removes exactly what beneficial insects need to survive. No flowers, no habitat, no diversity. Meanwhile, a diverse garden creates opportunities everywhere. Flowering plants provide nectar and pollen. Ground cover protects small predators. Different plant types support different forms of life. And over time, something remarkable begins to happen. The garden starts regulating itself, not perfectly, but naturally. Because healthy gardens don't simply grow plants. They grow relationships. And here's where the story becomes difficult to ignore. Some of the best flowers for attracting beneficial insects aren't exotic at all. They're often simple plants many gardeners already know. Sweet alyssum, dill, fennel, yarrow, calendula, tiny flowers packed with nectar. Exactly the kind of food many beneficial insects need. A patch of sweet alyssum may look decorative, but to hoverflies and parasitic wasps, it can function like a fueling station. And that's one of the biggest discoveries many gardeners miss. Predators don't stay because they love your vegetables. They stay because the garden provides everything they need. Take away the flowers, and many of the helpers disappear with them. Most gardeners throughout history never had access to modern pest control products, yet many still managed productive gardens. Why? Because they weren't trying to remove every insect. They were working within systems that already contained checks and balances. At some point, you begin to realize something important. Nature rarely creates a pest problem without also creating something that feeds on it. The challenge is making sure those helpers have a place to live. Once you see that, the entire garden starts looking different. You're seeing connections, and those connections may be the real protection. One of the most common mistakes gardeners make is surprisingly simple. They try to kill every insect they see. It feels logical. If insects are causing damage, remove the insects. Problem solved. Except that's not always what happens, because broad sprays rarely make careful distinctions. They remove pests, but they often remove beneficial insects too. The predators, the hunters, the creatures helping behind the scenes. And when that happens, something interesting occurs. The army protecting the garden disappears, the pests return, and often they return first. Because many pest species reproduce incredibly quickly, faster than the predators that once controlled them. So the very solution meant to protect the garden can accidentally make the system weaker. There's another habit that quietly works against beneficial insects: overcleaning the garden. Every fallen leaf removed, every corner cleared, every stem cut down immediately. It creates a neat appearance, but many predators use those spaces as shelter. Ground beetles hide beneath debris. Spiders use protected areas to hunt. Beneficial insects often need places to overwinter until the next growing season. When every hiding place disappears, many of the helpers disappear too. Sometimes a garden becomes healthier, not because it's cleaner, but because it's slightly wilder. So what do healthy gardens do differently? They build a living pest control system, and it often starts with flowers. Not because flowers look beautiful, although they do, but because many beneficial insects depend on them. A small patch of flowering plants can attract creatures that spend the rest of their time hunting pests. If you're wondering where to start, the answer can be surprisingly simple. Let a few herbs flower. Add a small strip of nectar-rich blooms. Leave a corner of the garden slightly less manicured. Tiny changes like these can make a garden far more welcoming to beneficial life. Plant diversity helps too. Different plants support different forms of life. The more variety present, the more stable the system tends to become. Many successful gardeners also avoid reacting immediately. Instead of reaching for a spray at the first sign of damage, they watch. They observe. They look for evidence of predators already doing their job. And often, they discover the garden is solving the problem on its own. Another useful habit is to inspect plants before taking action. Look under leaves. Check for lady beetle larvae. Look for hoverfly larvae among aphids. Notice whether spiders have already established webs nearby. A few minutes of observation can prevent unnecessary intervention. The goal isn't creating a garden with no insects. The goal is creating a garden where no single insect takes over, because balance is often more powerful than control. And there's one final warning worth remembering. Not every bug is harmful, but not every bug is helpful either. That's why identification matters. A gardener who understands what they're looking at gains a huge advantage, because the biggest gardening skill may not be killing faster. It may be knowing who is actually on your side. Sometimes the insect you're worried about is helping. Sometimes the insect you ignore is causing the problem, and the difference between those two situations can completely change what action you take. Observation becomes a tool. Patience becomes a tool. Knowledge becomes a tool. Because in the end, the most protected gardens are rarely the emptiest. They're often the most alive. The birds, the spiders, the beetles hiding beneath leaves, the hoverflies moving between flowers, the tiny hunters most people never notice, the creatures working quietly where nobody notices. A garden without pest problems may not be lucky. It may simply have a complete system doing its job long before humans ever see the results. And perhaps that's the most surprising lesson of all. The healthiest gardens aren't winning because they removed all the life. They're winning because they learned how to keep it.